Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Expat Conversation with your host, Michael Nolen. I want to say thank you very much again to Dr. Marco Antonio Cortez, who is the former General Rector of the University of Guadalajara and is now in charge of the Institute of Innovation, Investigation, and Governance. He's the person that's responsible for us having this show. So thank you very much to him and all the staff here at the University of Guadalajara that helps us. Today I have a very important show, and I have the honor of getting information out to you all by General Justin Bytheway.
Pleasure to meet you.
He is let me see if I can get this right, the United States Consulate here in Guadalajara's management officer.
You got it.
Okay. And he's been down here in Guadalajara for about 3 years, almost. Prior to that, if my history's correct, and Google's right, he spent several years in Perth, Australia.
Yes.
Then a year or so in Havana, Cuba, which must have been an exciting,
very interesting place.
I've been there one time. And then Washington, D.C. a little bit.
Yes.
And you're a native of this great state of Utah.
That's right.
And I was kind of admired when I was studying what he's done in his life. He grew up in a small town, Glenwood, Utah. Population 500.
Yeah, a little under 500.
They didn't even have their own high school or school. They had to go across the street, basically.
Yeah, drive 10 miles to get to school every day. So both ways, you know.
You're the Wildcats, right?
That's right, the Wildcats.
Unique history. And now he's living in second largest city of all of Mexico and working at, I guess, probably the second largest consulate.
Yeah, I think
Tijuana.
Juarez is a little bit bigger than us, but we're right after Juarez. So yeah, we're right up.
Was there anything else you'd like to add to your bio?
This is actually the second time I've served in Mexico. My first posting with the U.S. Foreign Service was in Nogales, Sonora. So it's awesome being back here.
And you are fluent Spanish, probably.
The government says I'm fluent in Spanish,
okay.
So I do all right.
Well, they sent you down here to work again, so must not have messed up too many words like I do every day.
I try not to.
Your first time. Well, the main reason I wanted to have him on the show today is because if you don't know, the United States government is building a brand new consulate here in Guadalajara. And it's been under process for about 3.5, 4 years. I think Robin Masterman was here when they started some of the planning. Mm-hmm. Maybe even when Tamara Anderson was consulate general before that. We're going back about 9 years, I think. But
I think that sounds right.
It takes a long time to do anything on this large of a process scale, especially if it's government-oriented in a different country. So it's been a long time in the coming, but I think it's been needed for a long time because the consulate here is pretty old. And I'm going to let you, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about the consulate, the history, how long have we had consulate, United States Consulate here in Guadalajara, and
I'm not a historian or anything, but I love history. And so as we've been able to do some research and try to dig up more about the United States' presence here in Western Mexico, it actually goes way back to like in the 1920s and the first consular office. I don't know what the terminology was in Nayarit up near San Blas. It was mostly a trading post. And then it was right after World War II was when they moved the consulate here to Guadalajara. And we've been in our current location in Colonia Americana since, I think, the early 1960s.
Wow.
And I know many of you have been there to visit the consulate. There's a lot of history there. We love the neighborhood we're in, but we have drastically outgrown that facility. And there's a lot of other, besides us just growing and providing more services, there's other deficiencies with the building just because of it being so old. So for us, as you mentioned, we were chatting before, the consulate, we serve a huge portion of Western Mexico. And in order for us to be able to accomplish our mission and accomplish our objectives here in Western Mexico, we really saw the need for us to have a bigger facility. And really for me, it's exciting to be here as a diplomat. We travel all around the world, like you said, to kind of be part of that long line of history going back decades, and to finally see the culmination of us getting ready to finally open up this new building. And it really is like opening a new era in connections between the United States and Western Mexico. It's really, really exciting.
The technology has changed so much, and it's hard to retrofit an older building to be able to handle all the wiring, all the computer type, Wi-Fi, this, that, and the other. So being able to start from scratch is probably really, really exciting, and it's just going to be able to take the service that you all provide for the expats and Americans and the Mexicans and anybody that needs services from the consulate into the next 15, 20, 30, 40 years.
100%. One of the things that we're really excited about is we've outgrown our facility so much here in Guadalajara that we actually have separate offices in different parts of town. So, like, for example, we have a foreign commercial service office that connects Mexican and American businesses and helps facilitate trade between our two countries. Well, we're going to be able to bring them in with us now, which means that we're going to be able to do a better job of identifying opportunities and really building ties between our two countries. We have an office that does agricultural inspections. They work a lot in Michoacan and also here in Jalisco doing avocado and mango inspections for all these fruits that get exported up to the U.S. Well, they have been in a separate office. We're going to be able to bring them in with us. And we find that when we're all together as a U.S. government presence, that we're able to do a better job and make sure that we're considering all the elements and we're providing the very best service that we can. So that's the infrastructure is what enables us to be able to do our true mission, which is to serve American citizens, is to help Mexicans to be able to get to the U.S. For legitimate travel, and to be able to do all of the other important things that we do with this partner. So it's cool.
Now that you all have a kind of a closed area now, there's no really great parking. I always park at McDonald's. Go over and have a hamburger and then go on over. But this new facility, they have parking. Let's tell everybody where it's at. Yeah, it's basically northwest of Minerva, the big roundabout of Glorieta, about a half a mile.
Yeah, about that. It's
to the northwest.
It's in Colonia Monraz, which is kind of right on the side of Providencia. It's just inside the Guadalajara city limits, right before you get to Zapopan. In fact, the location is one of the greatest things about it. Usually when we build a new embassy or a new consulate in some part of the world, you get a bunch of space planners and real estate people from Washington, D.C. that say, we need this kind of utilities connections, and we need these kind of security features, and we need this and that. Now, a lot of times you end up with some boring industrial space out on the outskirts of town that sometimes is difficult for people to get to. And the fact that we were able to find a suitable plot of land in such a nice part of town, still in Guadalajara, that's accessible to our clients and to the people who visit us, and also a place where we can make a home. Like, we're going to have new neighbors, new family there in Colonia Monraz, and we really think we can contribute and be part of the fabric of that part of the city. So it's a very nicely sized plot of land. It's right on, they call it the Glorieta Monraz, which was recently renovated by the city, and the ribbon cutting on that was maybe 3 or 4 months ago. So there's been a lot of construction and on the roads around there to kind of coincide with our arrival. But it is going to be a much nicer experience for anyone who comes to visit us. We will have an on-site parking garage, underground parking garage.
Will that be only for employees, or will that be for people that come to visit the consulate?
It's actually 2 parking garages, so one for employees and one for visitors, so that we're like stepping on each other's feet. It's just easier access. Like right now, when many, like I said, many people probably have visited our consulate, and really you have to wait outside on the sidewalk to be able to get into the consulate before you pass through security. It's just a much nicer layout. We actually are able to invite people onto our property and have a safer, more tranquil waiting space before you come through security, which we think will really improve people's experience. And then even when you come inside the building, it's just world class. And with all of the creature comforts and a nice air-conditioned waiting area and all of those things that we actually lack at our current facility. So it's going to be safer, it's going to be more comfortable, it's going to be more efficient, both for all the people who come to visit and also for our team. So the bigger space allows us to be able to facilitate future growth because the connections between the United States and Western Mexico are not going to be getting any smaller. Yeah, it's the potential is just so great there, and we just see this as being a platform for that future growth that will come.
Well, there's so much more that takes place in Consulate besides visas and passports. I know there's education things. I know when people are starting businesses here in Mexico or wanting to go to the United States, there's a service there. There's the federal benefits unit. There's probably 5 or 6 units that you're going to say, oh, we're going to be housed under one facility. And another great thing that I understand is you're going to have inside the facility places to get photographs taken, copies made. What else? It's like now you have to go off site to do that. Right. And I got lockers for people to put their personal belongings in, so they're not going into a secured area with a backpack. You know how hard that is or anything. So those are things that people have looked ahead of and planned well. So that's going to be great. Talking about how to get there, I know that there's, where people can walk there, they can park, but there's also buses that probably serve the area, taxis. Do any of the light rail lines run anywhere close to that? I'm not that familiar with that.
No, there's no train stations that are close by, but we've had lots of conversations with the city, especially the Office of Mobility, and control the traffic and those sort of things, to try to make sure that both we're minimizing our impact on the neighborhood that we're moving into and that we're providing the services needed so that people can come in. I think that we've done a really good job of planning. However, I also expect that we'll have some growing pains over the first few weeks that we're there. So we ask for everyone's patience as we kind of settle in and we work things out, that if we notice there are any pressure points, we'll try to get them resolved as quickly as possible. But the idea is to make it easier for people to come no matter how they're coming, whether they're coming by bicycle or by foot or by taxi or by bus, that it's just a more inviting and easier to facilitate process.
I read in an interview you gave to, I think it was a Guadalajara reporter, it may also have gone to the University of Guadalajara radio and TV station, that the opening date was supposedly around July 1st. That's getting here pretty quick. Is that still looking to be the opening date, or maybe pushed back to August, or?
No, it won't be July 1st, unfortunately, but right now we're still targeting the month of July.
Okay.
I'm hesitant to give an exact date because there's still so many details. But there's no major red flags that we think would push us into August at this point. So hopefully, and knock on wood, and everything proceeds. The building is more or less complete, but as you can imagine, when it's a U.S. government facility, there's a lot of inspections and final certifications and people from Washington, D.C. that have to come in and give their green check mark before we can actually move in. But
and then the physical moving.
Yes,
I guess you'll probably have new desks, new things like that, but all the paperwork, all the computer files, all the people themselves.
It is. It's a big process that my team is overseeing. I think they're doing an excellent job. If anybody's watching us from at the consulate, they're just killing it. But it also is it's an opportunity for us to change processes, to say, okay, well, new office, new way of doing things, new attitude. And so it's a psychological impact on our team to do the preparations and to have our level of service match the quality of the new building we're moving into.
Well, I'm sure in July when it opens, then you'll have, will there be a grand opening or anything? It's something like maybe Ambassador Salazar come over, or maybe Anthony Blinken?
The Secretary of
State might come, and Mr. Biden might just come down to you just to.
We are going to have a big inauguration ceremony. Pretty much everywhere I go in town, people ask me if they can get onto the invitation list. Unfortunately, it's going to be the official ribbon cutting ceremony will be kind of a smaller event. We'll invite some of the governors from the 4 states that we cover, and we do plan on Ambassador Salazar being there.
Great.
And then we'll open up to the public a few days after that.
Let's talk about the services. I know that they can help people get visas, because my wife had to go over there on an emergency one time and get her visa updated because it had expired and she did not realize it. We had a trip planned to Washington, D.C. Matter of fact, passports. I was actually given a handout a while back, and I think this is probably still good information.
Yes.
And you can probably go online and get things like this. I'm going to hold this up to the camera. And I want to let you know also, we were talking earlier about the location. We're going to cut away a little bit sometime during this conversation and show a picture of the map of Guadalajara and exactly where it's going to be.
Great.
And where the parking is at. And so the services, I don't know all the services because I haven't really needed very many of them. Can you please kind of talk a little bit about the services that you do provide for the Americans and also the Mexican people, and then anybody else that's here that might need some help?
Sure.
And then we're going to talk maybe about some of the services you don't provide that a lot of people think you do, that show up on your door on a daily basis saying, oh, well, I thought you could, redo my Social Security.
Yeah, I'll start with the services that we would generally provide to American citizens, since I know it's our primary audience, but we go through some of the other ones as well. We do routine passport renewals or also first-time passport applications. Although I will say that a lot of times you don't actually have to come into the consulate. You can, if you go to our website, the consulate website, they have a page you can go through and put your information in, and it'll tell you whether you can just do an online passport application. But if you're in some sort of an emergency, then yes, we offer that emergency passport services. We help out Americans who are here in town and get their passport lost or stolen and need an emergency travel back to the U.S. Sometimes that may be us issuing an emergency passport. Sometimes we have other ways of coordinating with airlines to be able to facilitate travel back to the U.S. Other American citizen service we provide is we do something called consular reports of birth abroad. Is documenting the birth of an American citizen while they're overseas in Mexico, so that you have your Mexican birth certificate, but you have your a U.S. government document that documents American citizenship alongside that. Had to go through that process personally for my own son that was born here in Jalisco.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And unfortunately, we also do something called a consular report of death abroad. So if there's someone who passes away while they're here in Mexico and you need some sort of a documentation to be able to take care of a person's affairs back in the U.S., a lot of times they need some sort of a U.S. government official document to handle that. And in those situations, we also will assist with something like things like repatriation of remains and those kind of things. Really, we have an office in the consulate called American Citizen Services, and our goal is to help out any American who's in trouble. That could involve people who are victims of crime. It can involve people who need to be connected. We have lists of lawyers and doctors and people, not that we advocate for anyone over the other, but we can give people lists of people who they can reach out to. And we even will go and visit Americans that are in jail here in Mexico to make sure that they're being taken care of according to proper standards, to be able to make sure that we can communicate with their family back home for them. So really the range of services that we provide at the consulate for Americans overseas is quite wide. We do, as you mentioned, have an office called the Federal Benefits Unit, which is not something that you would find at every consulate or embassy in the world. In fact, there's just a handful of them. And this Federal Benefits Unit is part of the Social Security Administration, and they kind of have two main functions. One would be to provide help for Americans who are receiving Social Security benefits or other benefits while here overseas. So if you have questions about your Social Security benefits or those type of things, you can reach out to the Federal Benefits Unit. And they also help Mexican citizens who have worked in the U.S. for a certain amount of time and qualify for Social Security benefits due to their work in the U.S., meaning they paid into the Social Security system. They help to facilitate those benefit payments here in Mexico. What else? Oh, the visa section. Of course, we process all sorts of what we call non-immigrant visas. So these would be tourist visas, business visas, student visas, exchange visas, pretty much anything that's not a permanent visa or what we would call a green card. That is one of the services we don't provide at the consulate. As a matter of fact, all of the immigrant visas or green cards in all of Mexico are processed in Ciudad Juarez. You can't even do that at the embassy in Mexico City. But apart from that, we have various offices that do all kinds of reporting issues. We report back on Mexican politics and internal affairs back to DC so that our decision makers in Washington can be well informed about what's happening here. We have a Foreign Commercial Service office that monitors trade and economic issues here in Western Mexico. We have agricultural, as I mentioned. And you have me. I oversee the office that does all of the internal affairs of the office. So we make sure the payroll gets paid and the lights get turned on. Well, it's important to our team. But our goal is to make sure that the building is functioning and all of the other things are being done the way they need to, so that we can be doing the really important work, which is supporting our American citizens, helping out Mexicans that are in the U.S., etc. Ultimately.
National security is very, very tight at all the different embassies. I was in London several years ago and had an opportunity to go by just to see the embassy. And there were some of our finest Marines, a couple blocks away, trying to keep the riffraff like me from away. I said, I just how beautiful the building is and everything. But I know that you also help a lot of people that are business, people trying to do things back and forth between the United States. And I've had some personal experience with that through some family people that are in the export-import business. And you mentioned when someone dies, I have Kelly Trainer. I don't know if you know Miss Trainer.
Yes, I do know
She
Kelly.
just retired after about 30-something years.
She's a
There in
beloved
Puerto
member of our
Vallarta.
family. Yes.
And she was a loved person. She lived in my same subdivision.
Oh, really?
So I saw her quite a bit, and the consulate agent there, I guess she'd been there around 30 years. I'm not going to say how much, but she just retired, and I've had people call me to say, hey, can you help me get to Kelly? And I said, she's retired. Well, I know, but she knows everything and everybody. But I had a good friend there at Puerto Vallarta that passed away, and she helped with that. And I know on every Friday, she'd take part of the day off and go to the jails or the different organizations that if someone was robbed at a hotel or whatever, and work as a go-between, kind of on her own, but I don't know, I'm sure there's people like that here.
Well, I'm glad
in
you,
Guadalajara to do the same
but I'm glad you mentioned that, because we do have the consular agency, which is still there in Nueva Nayarit in the Puerto Vallarta area. It's actually located in the Paradise Plaza, mall. I don't know what the right terminology is there.
So up on the second floor.
And we're open there still. They're a branch office of us here in Guadalajara, so we oversee them here. And Kelly is just so well known and so great at her job. We have Joseph, who still works there, and we encourage anybody who's in the Puerto Vallarta area who thinks that they might need some of these services. You can please stop in and visit there at the agency in Paradise Plaza.
Well, you've been to several times Western Mexico. I know that the consulate here is over the state of Jalisco, Nayarit, Colima, and Aguascalientes. Correct. And so I think the only other consulate agency is in Puerto Vallarta.
That's correct.
It's actually in Nayarit.
Just across the state border.
Yeah, right across the Jamaica River. I live, like I said, right there by it. And so the consulate's going to be open in July. People will be able to start going there. Can we give out some of the important information? I know I've actually, through the federal benefits unit, I used to get a letter every 6 months because I'm on Social Security, and you would have to say, have you been dead since we contacted you last time? Have you died? Have you changed your name? Have you changed your marital status? And there's 4 or 5 questions. And I think you had 90 days to return the form. And I usually got the form because the mail here in Mexico about 3 weeks after the 90 days. So I found out finally that you can do that online. And that's very beneficial.
Save you having to wait for the mail to come.
Yeah, the mail. And I live in a little tiny village of about 2,000 that you can probably put the entire town in the consulate area. So there are a lot of great services you all provide. Is there anything you don't provide on a day-to-day basis that people think you do?
The big one is the immigrant visas. Like I mentioned, people try to come in and process their green cards, and unfortunately, we just have to refer them to Ciudad Juarez. The other one that sometimes people will hit us up on is like a change of immigration status, or like a humanitarian parole or something like that, where hey, this person needs to be able to go live in the U.S. and we have an emergency asylum application or something like that. And all of that is also handled through the consulate in Juarez. That doesn't mean that you can't reach out to us. We will still make sure that we connect you to the right information, because we all of the consulates in Mexico, we all work together. There's probably other things that I'm not aware of that we don't do, but if there was a message I wanted to get across, it would be reach out to us. We can still get you connected to the right part of the U.S. government to get you the services that you need, even if we don't provide that particular service here in Guadalajara.
Well, I had a good friend. She just moved from the Lake Chapala area to South Baja. And I know you have 90 days to notify the federal government that you have moved. If you have, I think, your temporary in or permanent, maybe just your permanent residency, but you all get up that. People need to contact you. If you don't mind, can you take a minute and say, here's our website, here's our phone number. I know y'all don't answer calls, but I have personally left messages, and they get back, they say within 6 days, 5 working days, but usually a lot faster than that, and even answering the emails. So could you please go over some of that important contact information that our listening audience needs to know?
Sure. So the number one most important place for folks to contact us at is on our webpage, which you can find at mx.usembassy.gov.
Okay.
And that goes to the embassy webpage in Mexico City, and from there it's going to have a thing that says Consulate, and you're going to click on the one for Guadalajara. It's true that we don't have we have a phone number people can call for emergencies, but generally, if there's a link that says contact us, and it's going to pull up a form, and I know sometimes you click these forms and you wonder if anybody's ever going to respond, but we are really good at responding. When people put their information, put in your email address, put in your phone number, tell us a description of what your issue is, and generally within 24 hours, someone's going to email you back, call you up, and help to walk through answering whatever question it may be. And so and the reason why we send you to our webpage is because we keep it constantly updated with whatever the most recent information is. The other place I would say that you can go is to our Facebook page, which is, I don't know the exact webpage, but if you go to Facebook and you search U.S. Consulate General Guadalajara, you're going to pop it up there. You can then follow us, and you can keep track of all the different events. So if we're going to do an outreach event in Lake Chapala or Ajijic, or we're going to be heading out we try to do outreach visits both to Puerto Vallarta, to Tepic, to Colima, Aguascalientes, so that folks who are living in those areas can be aware when we're coming into town, and you can meet somebody from the consulate. Those are the best places to be able to keep updated on.
Well, I do follow you on Facebook. There's a lot of great information. One fun thing that y'all do is you put photographs of different places. Said, have you been there? If you have, send us your photo. And I've been to about half of the ones you put on there. And but it's very interesting. Also, you put job openings. Right now, you're in the need of someone to work in the mailroom. And I don't know, I'll be 70 in July. I don't know if I'm too old. Really, I don't think I'm going to get up there in the morning to be honest. So thank you for the offer, but I think I'll pass.
And we do. We have lots of dual citizen, Mexican and American citizens that work inside the consulate. And we do list all of our job openings both on Facebook and on the consulate webpage. And
we may have more job open with the new consulate as you get in there and get working. You're probably going to have more staff.
We do expect that is, maybe not on day one, but once we get moved in and get settled into the new digs, we have the capability to grow and add some new positions, which is really exciting for us.
Well, I've asked you about all the questions I think I can come up with. What haven't I asked you that you want our listening audience to know? And I'll be quiet for a minute, which is really hard for me to do.
No, but if I say anything especially interesting. One of the things that I would love to share with your audience is one of the things that has me the most excited and passionate about is some of the environmental and green features of our new consulate in Monterrey. We really are trying to embrace, some of Ambassador Salazar's goals about protecting the environment, and the building is a reflection of that. So for us, we have a full solar farm. I don't know what the right term is, but we have a big solar panel array, which is going to provide 15% of our energy there on the new consulate compound, which is really exciting. We have native plants planted throughout the entire facility in order to be able to provide habitat for pollen. What's the word I'm looking for here? The animals that pollinators. There we go. And also to help preserve groundwater and to protect the environment. We actually have a full water treatment plant on site, so that we recycle all of our water on the compound so that we use the very minimum of water coming in from the city so that we're not having a negative impact on the neighborhood. And in fact, we have these huge underground tanks that store rainwater through the rainy season. So here in a few weeks, when it starts raining here in Guadalajara, which is one of my favorite times of the year, is we get to save that water up over those 3 or 4 months and then use it for all of our gardens throughout the rest of the year without having to draw down off the city's supplies. So it's just, to me, it's an emblematic of, this is more than just like, let's build a new building and make sure we have extra capacity there. There's a real thoughtful process of how do we make the architecture match our hosts here in Mexico? How do we make sure that this is something that's going to be sustainable and something that contributes to the community? And those things aren't obvious when you just drive past and you look and you see a big building there over the wall. But to do those sort of things represents a huge investment. And I don't have the exact numbers on how much we spent on this building. But when we build something like this, it has to go all the way through Congress. And this is something that is more than just the Secretary of State saying, oh, yeah, sure, Guadalajara, that sounds good. And to me, it shows that, whether our leaders in Washington, they recognize the importance of what's going on here in this part of Mexico. They understand the connection between our two countries, and this is the truth, right? Is that you put your money where your mouth is, you build in a way that shows where your priorities are. And that's what I hope. I hope your listeners will understand that this is a very exciting thing for us as diplomats who serve all around the world. We go to different parts of the world, and to be in a place where you're like, wow, like, this is dynamic, this is exciting. We're seeing all of this tangible proofs of how important this is really.
Well, I've seen some architectural drawings and renderings, and actually a short video that y'all have, and the green spaces look really, really great. And it's a spacious. The old compound, which is not it's compact. It's real one building.
Right,
This is very spacious, and it's so much more modern. I mean, I just got back from Washington D.C. and it's incredible. The older buildings are just spectacular, and then the modern buildings over by the Smithsonian and all of those, they're a little bit different. And then the ones they built the last 50 years, you really don't understand what it is until you go right there and see a sign with a government address on it or something. But it's really going to look like, I haven't seen it in person, but it looks like it's going to be a spectacular facade building. It's a lot of glass, a lot of modern type architecture, it looks like, from what I've seen. And I'm excited about getting over there and for a visit. And
I hope you will come soon. Another cool thing is the art throughout the building. So we have art curators in Washington, D.C. that have done collaboration to try to find Mexican-American artists that are going to do certain art pieces throughout the building in order to be able to highlight the ties between our countries. In fact, in the waiting room for all of our applicants and clients that come into the consulate, they're doing a big ceramic mural, and the ceramic tiles are being manufactured right here in Guadalajara by Ceramic Basura. And the design has been done by a Mexican-American artist out of New York City, and they're going to install that as kind of like a big show-stopping piece when people come in to visit us. So it's really not, it's something that's designed to share with all of the people who come and visit our building.
well, I'm really, really sure that everybody's going to get over there and visit. If it's not just an official visit, just to be able to walk around the perimeter and see. I know getting inside the gate, you'll still have to go through all the security and everything, which is very important. And you all do a great job over there. I really appreciate it. It's so much more, because in the airport you're in, we all get patted down and all this, but in an official government building, I was in the Senate building back last time I was in Washington, D.C., and it was like almost Christmas break, and you just walk in where you wanted. And, I was looking to meet our 2 Oklahoma senators, and then I wanted to go by and see Louisiana Senator John Kennedy.
Oh, no.
I just think he's a very unique guy. And unfortunately, only one of the Oklahoma senators there, Mr. Langford, the others were all on Christmas break. But anything else in closing?
No, we really appreciate, Michael, you letting me come and chat with you and getting our story out. Like, this is something exciting for us, and we want to share it with everybody. If you have questions, reach out to us, connect with us on social media. I I'm sure most of the people who watch this show know that there's a U.S. consulate here, but maybe there's some people who had no idea that we
There's
were
always people coming down here all the time. There's always new people coming and a lot of expats down here. I would like to ask you one more time, please give out the website again and the phone number or everyone, how people need to contact it if you do it slow and loud.
I'll do it nice and slow. So the website is mx.usembassy.gov. And then you can just click on Guadalajara and you'll find all of our information.
I understand, I'm not sure, but I was told that they're building a new embassy in Mexico City.
That's right.
Is it under construction? Or
it is under construction right now. They've been under construction for almost a year and a half now, I think, and it's in the Polanco neighborhood, so just not too far from where the old embassy off of Avenida Paseo de Reforma. And it's, I think it is going to be the largest U.S. embassy in the world when it's complete. It is a massive, massive.
I'm sure it'll be unbelievable. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I did talk to a friend of mine who works for the Department of Government in Washington, D.C. that gives out the money. And I think you'll look around $450 million to build this facility. So,
it's not cheap.
It's not cheap. Thank you very much, Justin. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to come and all your associates that helped get this conversation
My pleasure.
put together. There's a lot of people that I'm going to say thank you to, and they know who they are. Great to see you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much for tuning in. Again, if you have any questions, you have the information. Don't hesitate to contact the United States government. They're there to help you, and they will in so many ways. And again, thank you very much, Mr. Bytheway, for taking the time to come and be on the show, and I appreciate it very much. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you have learned a lot. I have. And we'll see you on the next episode of Expat Conversations with Michael Nolen. Thank you.
Happy trail.